I'm always delighted to be with Saul News, who's been such a leader in the conservative movement and the Republican Party.
Welcome to the Saul's Newsstand News Rewind for March 18th, 2022. Fox News reports, MSNBC, CNN, PBS embrace Biden rhetoric on inflation, gas price hike. Putin's price hike, a great message. Liberal pundits and journalists have claimed that Russian President Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine is the true catalyst behind the rising cost of American goods, including gasoline, all while deflecting criticism aimed at President Biden and his administration. Despite the possible impact of the White House's rampant spending and progressive energy policies, many outlets brushed and laughed off criticisms levied against the Biden administration, instead bending over backward to link inflation and the cost of oil explicitly to the turmoil in Ukraine. NBC was responsible for a number of attempts to tie the recent war in Europe to price hikes hitting Americans, in many cases even repeating Biden's newly coined Putin's price hike phrase. During MSNBC's MTP Daily with Chuck Todd, Chief Washington correspondent Andrea Mitchell said that calling inflation Putin's price hike was a great way to message the issue. Many show hosts, as well as their guests, also urged viewers to ignore Republican claims that Biden is responsible for rising gasoline costs and instead instructed them to blame Putin and American energy companies. Gas prices have risen 59% since Biden took office, prior to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, with the nationwide average hovering just over $4.30 a gallon. An article from The Hill states, new book says Graham discussed 25th Amendment for Trump on January 6th. Senator Lindsey Graham, a Republican from South Carolina, called the White House on January the 6th and said lawmakers would ask cabinet members to invoke the 25th Amendment to remove then-President Trump from office if he did not do more to condemn the rioters at the Capitol, according to a new book by New York Times reporters Jonathan Martin and Alexander Burns. The 25th Amendment allows the Vice President and a majority of the Cabinet to issue a written declaration to the Senate and Congress stating that the President is unable to discharge their powers. The move would allow the Vice President to assume the powers of acting President. The book claims that Graham furiously called a White House lawyer while the riot was happening on January the 6th, 2021, and said, quote, "We'll be asking you for the 25th Amendment if Trump does not do more to condemn the rioters." Graham's office told The Hill they have no comment on the incident. And finally, Yahoo News reports, Russian politician demands reparations from U.S. in the form of Alaska. A Russian politician and mouthpiece for President Vladimir Putin has called for Alaska to be returned to Russia as a form of reparation. Russian State Duma member Oleg Matvichev told a TV host on Sunday that Russia should be thinking about reparations from the United States for sanctions imposed on the nation following its war on Ukraine. When asked whether or not that included Alaska and a former Russian settlement in California, Mr. Matvichev told the host he wanted all Russian properties to be returned after billions in sanctions were imposed on Russia for invading Ukraine. He went on to say, quote, "That included those of the Russian Empire, the Soviet Union, and current Russia, which has been seized in the United States and so on, as well as the Antarctic. We discovered it, so it belongs to us." While Alaska was sold by the Russian Empire in 1867 in an agreement known as the Alaska Purchase, following an end to Russian expansion in the Americas, Fort Ross, the country's southernmost settlement in the United States, was meanwhile abandoned in 1841 as the Arctic fur trade declined. This week, we'll let President Joe Biden have the last word.
How many times have you heard, I'll bet everybody knows somebody somewhere along the line, that in an intimate relationship, what happened was the guy takes a revealing picture of his naked friend or whatever in a compromising position, and then literally, in a sense, blackmails or mortifies that person. Send it out, put it online.
And that concludes your Saul's Newsstand News Rewind for March 18th, 2022. For more political news faster, visit saulsnews.com.